Just fixing my hair here. The big story this week is Hurricane Ian. This is a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 467. Ian is for the season, is the season. I forget the name of this episode already. It's only been 5 seconds. I don't remember the name of stuff because I'm getting old. Anyway, we had our first full-fledged hurricane hit the United States in the longest time because of the bizarre weather in the no tropical weather during the summer, really. So this is the first big one, and it's kind of newsworthy. The MCU had a bunch of stuff come out, not all of it good. We have a new cursed comic book movie, and one that previously was cursed now seems to be getting a rebirth of some sort. We get some bass fishing, which I've never done before on the show. Stories in there. Weddings, deaths, anniversaries, rain, trailers, Christmas, Halloween, new stuff, old stuff, reviews, weird news. Anything else do I have? Not much else really going on today. So to drink, we're going to try something different, something called water. I have not had my allotment of water today. I tend to drink a bunch of water when I'm at work because it's a lot of physical labor and I need to keep my hydration. But when I'm home for the weekends, I had the only coffee I've had today. The only water I've had today, except for this, is the hot water that run coffee beans through. So with coffee, had that and had early dinner with my dad and stepmom. I had a Mountain Dew there, and that's really all. And then I had a Gatorade. So those are like the only things I drank today. So need to get some liquid hydration in me here real quick. So it is October 1st. I don't think I've ever done a show on October 1st exactly, but it is. October is my favorite month of the year for a number of reasons. One, let's just go in real order. Tuesday is my 19th wedding anniversary, so that's always a good thing about October. Halloween, of course. Love Halloween a lot. It is the middle of the football, not middle, but the football season's already gotten through its first month, so there's been about four games so far. 3 games technically have only been played so far, but still, we've got a couple. This football season is not new anymore. It's moving right along, and we're getting ideas of where things are going, and it's different changes up. The temperature changes. We've been in a really good cold pattern, which we haven't had in October for a long time, because in this area, we always seem to have some sort of burst of late summer, Indian summer, as they call it, heat in October, which really sucks because you want October. That's what September's for, is for summer to slowly work its way out of our system. And so by the end of September, you get the cold weather coming in. That's how it's supposed to work. It's how it's working now. Because if you look at the weather for the next 10 days, which I always like to do, 59, 59, 57, 57, 72, 75, 70, 57, 59, and 61. So we have a little bit of a warm up in the middle of the week next week. But yeah, currently we are having showers here in Reisterstown. It's 57 degrees right now. These showers are from the Hurricane Ian. It ran through Florida quickly. I think it was on Thursday, and then rolled up the coast, hit South Carolina, North Carolina yesterday, and then came back out up on the Atlantic seaboard, came back in through, hit us here in the mid-Atlantic with the remnants, because the Gulf of Mexico is still warm, so it got really, really strong. That's why it was like a class 4 when it hit Florida. But once it hit Florida, it lost a lot of its power, became like a tropical storm. But once it got over water again, it collected water, so it became a bigger storm again. But because the Atlantic Ocean is not warm at this time, or is a lot cooler than the Gulf of Mexico is, particularly as you move up the coast, the hurricane formation doesn't get as powerful due to the lack of warm water, but we still get a lot of water though. So we got a bunch of rain dumped up on us starting overnight last night. Not really it was right around when I got pizza, it started to rain then. And then we had some periods of heavy rain when I went to bed last night, well, more like this morning about 2 a.m. We had a huge downpour, and then when I got up this morning about 9:30, there was another huge downpour, and there was just kind of this foggy, gray sort of day. Went to dinner with my dad and stepmom and the family, obviously, and then we were leaving. We started getting a little bit of spit on us, but nothing too major. And we've been inside, so there could have been storms. I don't know. And it says it's raining right now, but we'll see. But it's supposed to rain like all day tomorrow because the storm came in and then went up and then recircled back around and is going to hit us again and then go back up the coast again. So we're going to get a second wave of rain from the storm. So it's fine. But as I said, we're getting into the cold temperatures. That means also that the leaves are going to start changing and get to the crisp oranges and yellows. It's another reason why I love October, is because of that. And it's just, it's my favorite month. It's the weather and it's the colors and it's Halloween and it's my anniversary and and football and baseball is wrapping itself up and basketball and hockey are just getting started, stuff like that. So not that I'm big fans of those, but it's just, there's a lot going on, and there's some, big movies and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's what's going on. So we had, the hurricane rolled through Florida. It caused massive damage to Fort Myers and some Tampa area. But I have some friends and family down in Florida, and most of them got off pretty easily. Lose power, which is bad, but no real damage to any of their houses or anything like that. My one friend lives on a golf course. The golf course no longer exists as of now. It's a lake, but the water will eventually recede and get sucked in and it'll go back to being a golf course again. But for now, she said she's enjoying her lake view from her house now. So yeah, my Uncle Frank, who lives in South Carolina, lost his power. I think Scott Troutman, friend of the show, has lost power also for a while. So we'll hopefully he's got it back. So we'll see. So we got that going on, and then not much else. So yeah, it's just gonna be kind of a washout tomorrow. I'm gonna watch the Ravens-Bills game. That's really all that I have. I'm taking Monday off just to recharge. I didn't have a vacation this year, plus get the last minute touches for my anniversary. I got some anniversary presents today, gonna get some tomorrow. It's 19, so it's bronze and aquamarine are like the big things right now. So I got some stuff like that, but the big ones next year. We're gonna go out to dinner to Outback Steakhouse. We had a fancy dinner last year. This year, just gonna be like, we need some steak. Let's just do something a little bit different right down the road from us, and the kids will be able to stay at their house by themselves. So my wife and I go out, but that's really going to be about it. And then they go camping next weekend. They're going to do archery and stuff like that. So that'll be fun. So I'll have, as of now, still have the house to myself. My son said he wanted to go, and I think my wife signed him up, and then he's like, am I going? And I think, yeah, you are. So I think he's going to have to go because they signed him up for it. So that'll be good. So they have I know they went camping last weekend, and then they're going to camp next weekend, but then they're not going to camp again probably till sometime in November. So that's good. So gonna have something like that. So we got some good stuff coming up. Plus, Pokemon Go has their Halloween event, which I absolutely love, and Fortnite has their Fortnitemares. The date for Fortnitemares has been officially announced. It's going to be October 18th. Is the beginning of Fortnitemares. It's always a fun time in Fortnite, and Pokemon Go's Halloween event is usually also about 2 weeks. So it'll be right around the same time again, probably. So that'll be fun. This year, my work is putting a $200 cash prize for a costume contest. So a lot more people are getting involved with it. But I also have to, and I always dress up, but I have to really, really step it up if I want to win that $200. So I'm thinking of being Tim Curry from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Dr. Frankenfurter. So on my day off on Monday, I'm going to do a little research on that. I tried to do some online stuff. I couldn't find what I was looking for, but I'm going to have to try to see what I can do. So it's going to be a process, but I'm starting it early enough that I should have it ready if I'm going to end up doing that in time for Halloween, which is on a Monday this year, which kind of sucks. But I don't want to be one of those people that says change Halloween to the weekend and just forget about it always being October 31st. That's dumb. It's like saying Christmas, shouldn't always be December 25th. That's stupid. So good stuff coming up here. So we got that going on. So let's just get right into it. So I'm not going to give you any teases since I've already been talking here for about 10 minutes. So let's just move on. A lot of Marvel news, and not all of it's good. First up, Armor Wars, which was going to be a TV show for Disney Plus. They decided that we don't need it to be a TV show. So they are turning it into a movie now, which I guess makes sense because the Armor Wars storyline was really just a thief stole the way to build Iron Man armor, and all these villains get the armor built for them, and Iron Man has to take them on. That's really all it is. So you can probably reduce that down to a good movie, which that opens up a TV show for someone or something. So that's kind of interesting. That's the one thing people are not discussing, is that it was set to be a TV show, but now they're going to turn to a movie. So that leaves a window open for something else to become a TV show. So be it a Moon Knight season 2 or Miss Marvel season 2, both of which have not been announced yet, or be it a brand new TV show. It maybe they're going to do an X-Men TV show instead of a movie. You don't know. This is, the Armor Wars isn't due out till 2024 anyway. So it's going to be a little bit of time before we get to that. So it really could be anything. Now, the reason why I brought up X-Men is the other the big Marvel story for this week is Ryan Reynolds supposedly has convinced Hugh Jackman to come out of retirement to play Wolverine one more time in Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3 now has an official date on the MCU calendar. It's due out September 6th, 2024. We already know Sean Levy's directing it, who directed Ryan Reynolds in Free Guy and the Apollo Project or whatever, and is good rapport with him. And Sean Levy's also a guy who deals with Stranger Things, so he's working on that. But he has convinced Hugh Jackman to come and be in Deadpool 3. Now, everybody's making a speculation that he's going to be the Wolverine of the MCU, but there's no guarantee that that's what it is. They're keeping his, obviously you're thinking it's going to be some sort of Wolverine, but could be a alternate reality Wolverine, like how Professor X was in Doctor Strange, but might not necessarily be the Professor X in the MCU, that sort of thing. Or is it going to be something completely different? Maybe he's going to be a fourth wall breaking thing, so where he's going to make fun of Hugh Jackman for being Wolverine or something like that. Don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. But everyone is sort of freaking out, believing this is going to lead to, more X-Men stuff, more mutant stuff. And they're going to be building some mutant stuff because it was also announced this week that Namor, who's going to be in Black Panther 2, is going to be a mutant. Now, before you go, oh my God, no, that was something that John Byrne looked at when he took over and did the Namor regular series, and he called him Namor the first mutant. And because I think he is a mutation from Atlantis. The people in Atlantis aren't exactly like him. He's different. I think the people in Marvel, the MCU Atlantis, are blue, and he was a white human. So they believe so they're going to kind of stick with that being him being a mutation as well. So that's the next mutant that's being introduced. So you have that one, and you have Miss Marvel, and then if you're going to have this Hugh Jackman as a Wolverine type, they got that as well. So, the mutants are slowly being introduced into the show, or to the MCU, rather, I should say. And so we'll see what happens with that. The bad news, we appear to have a new cursed comic book movie in the Blade reboot. All looked good a few years ago when Mahershala Ali said that he wanted to play Blade, and he was cast. Kevin Feige came out and said he's our Blade, and Mahershala Ali is a great actor who's been nominated for multiple Oscars. Hasn't won one, I don't think, but he's been nominated plenty of times. And they were getting ready to start filming it this month, actually. After a few delays, they were supposed to start filming it last summer because of COVID. Then before that, so it just kept getting pushed back for whatever reasons, COVID and other reasons why. So they were finally settled on a date sometime in October to start filming on it. And then the director decided, I'm not going to do this. I'm tired of the multiple date changes. I've lost my urge to direct it. I want to move on and do something else. So he's left. So now Blade does not have a director. And then Mahershala Ali is rumored to be very unhappy with the script and needs it to be repaired. So, and then they just announced today that it looks like Blade has now been pushed back for 2023 production. So that's going to cause more changes and more background stuff. So there's going to be some things they're going to need to fix up and change around. So we'll see what happens about that. Some other big MCU news is Harrison Ford is rumored to be replacing the late William Hurt. William Hurt was Thunderbolt Ross in the Hulk movie with Edward Norton, and then he came back in, I think, Civil War. Was he in anything else before that? Was he in Winter Soldier? He might have been Winter Soldier also, but he was in Civil War and then in Infinity War and all that stuff. And William Hurt passed away, so they need someone else to take over the role because Thunderbolt Ross plays a big role in the Thunderbolts, and they've approached Harrison Ford, and supposedly he is keen on doing it. So we will see if that is actually going to happen, but that would be interesting to see how that goes about. So that was another big news that came out from Marvel this week as well. Real quick, the She-Hulk for the last 2 weeks has been pretty good. Last week's was okay. It was actually kind of funny because she it was the wedding episode. That's right. So she was invited to a friend's wedding, but her friend didn't want her to be She-Hulk, wanted her to be Jennifer Walters because she didn't want to be overshadowed on her wedding day. And then they had Jennifer to do a bunch of stuff that she didn't want to do for the wedding that she just had to because Jennifer will do it. So it just seemed like her friend was kind of a bitch asshole sort of type. And Titania came to the wedding as well as being a date for one of the guests there. And the two of them got into a fight. And then Jen met a guy at the wedding. And this episode had them dating and everything seemed to be going good. They were cute and having a good time and going on multiple dates. And then they had sex and then he ghosted her. And so she got kind of angry. And that led to the main storyline, which was the parole officer for Abomination said that there seems to be something wrong with his inhibitor. And could She-Hulk go with him just in case that he is broken his parole and has turned to Abomination and wants to kill everybody again? So they go up there and they discover that no, he's still running his retreat, but he's using old school, like B-level Marvel characters. All the characters that were in this episode are in the Marvel universe. You have Porcupine and Man-Bull and Elegilia. And I don't know, the vampire, I don't know if he's Blade's son. That could be it. I'm not exactly sure how that works out, but and it was just kind of sort of a way to get, and the wrecker from the Wrecking Crew was in there too, and it was just a really funny episode it was like sort of a group sort of story, and Jen got some breakthroughs there, and turns out that the guy that was supposed to be her boyfriend who's been ghosting her is actually working for the bad guys that want her blood, and they got it after they had sex. He got the blood from her when she was Jennifer Walters, as she was asleep, passed out from the sex. So we'll see what happens, and we're moving on. Last week's Lord of the Rings was kind of a slow sort of just more of the same old shiat, and it just was like, okay, well, this is all right. But this week's episode was the first one that really felt to me like it was Lord of the Rings. It really just focused on two of the storylines, Numenor and the people of the Southlands. And it was a one big battle scene, and it also ended with, spoiler, the creation of Mordor. So some good stuff in this episode of Lord of the Rings. So looking forward to seeing what that one is. Now, next week, when I do this show, Werewolf by Night will have come out already, so I'll be reviewing that. So that'll be good. And I might actually be watching some Halloween sort of movie, so I might have some of those reviews as well. Now, we've heard about all the bad stuff that's been happening to Blade. It seems like it's now a cursed comic book movie because it's been in the works since like 2019, and stuff just keeps happening to keep pushing it back. And now there's a lot of angst and issues with it. But one movie that was always seemed to be cursed got a surprising update about it. The Crow, the one where Brendan Lee, who played the Crow fantastically, I must say, in the 1994 movie, was outstanding. And unfortunately, he was killed in an accident on the set. The movie went on to do very well and spawned a sequel, which was awful. And then they didn't do any more for a while. And then they tried to do a reboot or whatever multiple times, including one where they were really close with Jason Momoa, who I think would have been an outstanding Crow, and they had a director and they were getting ready to start, and then all of a sudden they decided, no, we're not going to do this. So it just seemed like it was cursed. But then they announced last year that Bill Skarsgård, off of his Pennywise turn and some other stuff as well, and I don't know who the director is, that they are going to take a crack at the Crow. So like, okay, good luck for that. And then I hadn't heard anything, so just like, I guess they haven't worked on it yet, or there was an issue and I haven't heard it being canceled, but I haven't heard anything about it. So I wasn't sure what's going on. And then this week I got news they're done filming in Prague. What? The movie's done? Huh. So it went off without a hitch, and we'll see if it's any good. So they filmed it in Prague, which is interesting. And Bill Skarsgård, they had a picture of him dressed up as the Crow, and he looks like the Brendan Crow, or the Brendan Crow, the Brendan Lee one. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how that goes. So we'll see how that rolls out. But wow, that's kind of cool that, this film that believed to be cursed, well, rightfully so, because there was the accident, could very well have gotten past the curse and have moved on to. So we'll see what happens. I mean, again, there's a lot that could go on. Something could happen in the editing room, or they might decide, we're just going to send it direct to DVD or whatever. I don't know. So we're going to find out. Speaking of Bill Skarsgård, he and Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter, are going to be starring in a brand new version of Nosferatu. Speaking of Halloween, vampire, stuff like that. Film from Robert Eggers, who is the sort of indie horror film director du jour right now. He directed The Witch and The Lighthouse, both of which are these psychologically black and white sort of intense horror type films. And they've been getting both got huge, tremendous ratings. So now to have a new version of Nosferatu directed by him is actually fairly intriguing to me. So that could be kind of cool to see that. So that'd be good. And then if I remember correctly, I believe Bill's brother, I forget his name right now, he starred in a Tarzan reboot movie with Margot Robbie that didn't do much, so they haven't done much with Tarzan. But Sony, who I guess owns the rights to Tarzan, decided that they are going to reimagine the Tarzan character and release a new film, Tarzan film. As I said, they've just started work on it. I wouldn't expect this to be out till 2025 at the earliest, but could surprise us. They get a script going, they get a director, they get some cast, they get a good cast there. You might be able to get this out by 2024, but I doubt it. So that's kind of interesting to hear that as well. Speaking of other movies that are getting kind of reboots or reinvented or whatever, a female writer-director by the name of Sujavar Day, I guess. I can't think of her name right, but she's a female writer-director, is brought a new spin on the American Pie film series, and they decided to allow her to take on that new version. No word yet if she's going to be directing it, but she is writing the script for it. I would assume that she's probably also going to want to direct it, but a new version of an American Pie movie. Honestly, the first one is excellent, though really dated, and probably could be considered kind of insulting now. This was 99, so about 23 years ago this came out. And then the sequel was okay. The third one was terrible, and I never saw Reunion because I have no desire, because I despise the character of Stifler, and they made him a huge part in the final few films, and he shouldn't have been a huge part of it. And then they did a bunch of direct to DVD sequels, which were just soft core sort of stuff, just to, and they didn't do much and whatever. And Eugene Levy needed the paycheck, so he was one of the only characters to come back. And Jennifer Coolidge, Stifler's mom, came back, and the two of them had an affair or something like that. Some weird BS. I'm not exactly sure, so I don't know if it's even canon anymore. So we'll see. But yeah, so that's all about that. So this we'll see. It probably will not have the original cast involved. I doubt it's going to be like a Ghostbuster sort of thing, a Ghostbusters Afterlife thing where they show up as these older versions. So they could, maybe. I just don't see the point of it. If you want to do an American Pie sort of film, I guess, and they've done sort of the reverse where the women are trying to lose their virginity sort of thing, which honestly is, I hate to sound sexist, but it's probably a lot easier for women to lose their virginity than guys, because the women are in charge when it comes to sexual stuff. So they just need to find a guy. They just need to come on strong and do a few things, and they're going to have sex. So we'll see what she has planned for it. So we'll see. What else we got here? The horror movie Smile is the top, projected right now to be the top movie this week, making about $19 million this week. But what's interesting is the marketing that they decided to use for this is they sent actors. I don't think they were the actors from the movie, but just actors in general, to go to baseball games, college football games, and regular football games, any sport that's televised, and find a spot where you'll be able to be seen on screen, and you wear a t-shirt that has Smile all over it, and you have the big demonic smile, which is the basis of the movie. And it was kind of creepy seeing all these smile zombie things at various baseball and football games. So, but it was a really good idea for marketing. So give them credit for that. $19 million. There's not a lot coming out this month, so if they can just stick around for a while, it'd be a good Halloween movie to probably go check out as well. I know my friend Kim, who loves horror movies, she's not going to go this weekend because of the weather, but she's going to head out next weekend to see it. So it still, could make some good money up there as well. Dave Bautista has been cast in an action film called Cooler. It seems like the sort of film that maybe The Rock would have done, and maybe Bautista's trying to, sort of get that career arc moving, because he was really, really good, obviously, in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He was in that James Bond movie, but then his other movies that weren't connected to something else, the detective or the FBI one or the police one or whatever, didn't do so well. And then he's just sort of become sort of a character actor. He's got the M. Night Shyamalan movie I told you about last week coming up, which could be really big for him. And he's got something else, I think. But now this movie could help him out a lot as well. To do that. Oh, okay. Scientists have found the largest planet in the universe. I wanted to just read that because it was I couldn't read my handwriting, but then I figured out what it was. Yeah, bigger than Jupiter. It's literally like you could fit like 3 to 4 Jupiters in this planet. That's how big it is. It's massive, and so I can't even imagine what that would be like, because Jupiter is so, you can fit like 33,000 Earths or something like that inside of Jupiter. And so, you got to figure if you can fit 3 Jupiters in this planet, it's got to be freaking huge. So that's kind of cool to see that. The Community. Remember when the TV show Community came out, the creator was like, I expected to go 6 seasons and a movie. He got his 6 seasons, and then the movie has been kicking around for a while, but nothing came of it really. So they thought, okay, well, you almost got it. Well, not anymore. They announced this week that a Community movie is in the works right now, and will be going before the cameras early next year. The only thing is at least 2 of the cast members probably will not be able to be in it, but it doesn't matter. They're going to get their movie, so they're going to get their 6 seasons and a movie. So that's good for them. I did that one, so I can click those off there. The Matrix is going to get an interpretive dance directed by Danny Boyle. He's going to create this interpretive dance that's based on The Matrix, and he's going to direct it for Broadway or whatever these shows are. But it's a dance version of The Matrix. That's kind of a interesting idea. I don't know how it's going to work, but there you go. Scientists spot a solar system with 3 super Earths in it, which means that they are not gas giants, but they're about the size of gas giants, but they do have rocky surfaces and whatever, but they're like Earth. They're Earth-like planets. Doesn't necessarily mean they have trees and grass and water, so they don't know, but they know that they're not gaseous. So that's kind of interesting. There's 3 in one solar system. Disney Plus has a new movie coming out. I think it's November, or maybe it's later this year, or it's later this month, rather. It's called Rosaline, the story of Romeo's ex-girlfriend. So basically, it takes a comedic look at the tragedy that is Romeo and Juliet. And I think my daughter mentioned this totally it was not, it was just unwarranted. She didn't know, she doesn't know about this. And just sort of out there is that, Romeo and Juliet, Romeo starts off dating this one woman, and then all of a sudden he sees Juliet, who's younger than the woman he's dating, and dumps the woman and goes after Juliet. And then, what happened with that. So we're taking a look at the woman who he dumped, which is sort of a Rose and Guildenstern are dead sort of thing. But it's always fun to see that interpretation of a Shakespeare play, because Shakespeare plays are so much fun that you can do different interpretations of it. You can set it in any location, but you can also take minor characters and focus on them, because what happens to the main story, and see how things roll with them. So it's kind of thing, but it's on Disney Plus. It's a sort of a more teenagery sort of, because Disney Plus has those types of films as well, but just kind of an interesting sort of story idea, as it were. So well, with that. Christian Bale said he would love to be a part of the Star Wars family, but he said, I would only want to play, though. This is so Christian Bale. The stormtrooper that banged his head on the door in Star Wars. Now, you all know that story. The blooper that got put in the final film. If you watch Star Wars in the sequence where Luke and Han have discovered where the princess is, so they leave with Chewie. The droids in this one room where they were trying to figure out where everything was, and stormtroopers come into the room, and the door opens, and you can see a stormtrooper like walk into the door, and his helmet gets knocked off. And it's in the film. It's a split second, but if you know where to look, your eye is drawn to it, and you will start see. Once you see it once, you see it every time you watch the movie now. Bale said he wants to play that character, so I guess you could, but kind of silly, but whatever. James Gunn has been dating actress Jennifer Holland for a while now. They got engaged earlier this year. She's been in pretty much a lot of his movies. She has an appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. She was in Peacemaker, and I think she played the same role she played in Peacemaker in Suicide Squad. So, and she did one of his other movies as well. I think the one that he produced about the superhero kid that's like Superman but is evil. Anyway, the two of them tied the knot. I believe it was on Friday, the 30th of September. So, congratulations to the happy couple. And yeah, that's great. My cousin is actually going to be getting married on September 30th, 2023 next year. So we got that coming up next year. So that'll be on a Saturday, obviously. So that'll be interesting to see that. So good. Some football. This is high school football, actually. So we know Peyton Manning, and we know Eli Manning, and we know their father, Archie Manning. They're all football greats. Archie Manning, unfortunately, was on a team that wasn't going anywhere, so his talents were not really utilized all that much. But his sons, Peyton and Eli, have won multiple Super Bowls. I think Peyton's won MVP once. I don't think Eli ever won MVP, but he was in the MVP voting before. They are, considered hugely, popular and influential quarterbacks. Peyton's already in the Hall of Fame. Eli will probably get in there as well. But their nephew, Arch Manning, who is the son of either their older brother or their sister, not exactly sure. It has to be his older brother since he's got the last name of Manning. And his older brother didn't really play sports. But Arch Manning, named after obviously his grandfather, is become, because of the genes he has, got two uncles who are Hall of Famers, Super Bowl winners, and a grandfather who was a great football player as well. And I think even though they weren't hugely popular, I think his aunt and his dad are also pretty good athletes as well. Anyway, he was coveted by all these colleges. I think he's ended up going to Texas, I believe. But he's still in high school right now. And he played in a game the other night. And in that game, he surpassed both of his uncles. What's the word? Records. That's right. Peyton had the most wins, I guess, or most touchdowns for that high school that he went to. And Eli had the most yards passing, I think, for that high school. And Arch passed both of those records in one game. So good on that. We'll see him. I think it's his senior year, so we'll see him in Texas next year, and that should be interesting. And then we'll see if he stays for 4 years or if he opts to go to another college or he enters the draft after 1 year. So we'll see what happens. But yep, we could have another Manning quarterback rolling through here very soon. So finally, before we get to the anniversary stuff, so last week I told you about the chess controversy about the guy who had a butt plug that vibrated and had AI put in there so that a move would be set and it would the AI would make the butt plug hum when he needed to figure out what he had to do, and he ended up doing and would win, but using the butt plug as a cheating sort of thing. So now a serious controversy in a pro fishing tournament made the news this week. As a multiple-time winner was caught stuffing lead weights and other fish fillets into their fish to make them heavier, which I guess is one of the things that helps you win these prizes. And because they did this one time they got caught on, they believe that they've done it for their whole time, and they've won thousands of dollars in prizes. So we don't know what's going to happen with that. But, even pro fishing can't get through a controversy. And I didn't write this down because I didn't quite understand it, but there was also a poker controversy between this woman and this guy. And the woman was like calling the guy's bluff or something like that. And I'm not exactly sure what happened, but it was a controversy that's being looked into also. And of course they believe that the woman is cheating because how could a woman beat a pro poker player? So a bunch of bullshit. So I didn't understand. That's why I didn't add it to the show. But I figured there's a lot of weird stuff, not just in baseball and football, hockey and basketball, but all these other sports, fishing and poker. And NASCAR's had their share of stuff as well. So yeah. So anniversaries, not as many as last week, which is good. I'm going to try to cut back on them a little bit, but there's some good things in here. Cool Runnings is celebrating its 29th anniversary this year. That's the one of John Candy's last films where it has the Jamaican bobsledding team, which was a story back in the 80s. This is a movie about the Jamaican bobsledding team, directed by John Turteltaub, who did While You Were Sleeping and some other stuff as well. So it's a good movie. Next up, we have Elvira, Mistress of the Darkness. Movie came out in 1988. I read Elvira's, Cassandra's autobiography last year. And she's a very interesting character, a very interesting person. And this was there's a movie that brought her character Elvira out from the TV world to the movie world because she was a popular icon. So good on that. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out 48 years ago this week. That's the type of movie that's very disturbing. Toby Hooper directed it, but it's just and it created a psychopathic killer who's up there with Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees and Scream, stuff like that. Cheers premiered 1982. That makes it its 40th anniversary this week. This year. So good on Cheers. Cheers was a good show. I watched it most of the episodes. I've watched most of them and enjoyed that a lot. Night of the Living Dead also has an anniversary this year. 1968. The original Night of the Living Dead came out this week in 1968. The original Sabrina the Teenage Witch on the ABC, what was it, their Friday, TGIF Friday lineup. I love Sabrina, even in 1996 when this debuted, and I was 26. I was 26 years. No, I was 23 years old because 1993 would have been my 20th birthday. So I was 23 years old, and I liked Sabrina. And I liked the show, and I watched it all the time, videotaped it and stuff like that, and rewatched it when I could. It debuted in 1996 this week. A sad anniversary. It was 5 years ago, I think it was. Yes, it was 5 years ago. This is the 5th anniversary. On this date, October 1st, well, it's now the 2nd because it's after midnight, but October 1st, 5 years ago, during a concert in Las Vegas, a maniac shot and killed 58 people and injured about 400 others, shooting from like the 40th floor of a hotel down at the concert. And again, it was the worst shooting. I think there's the mass shooting in history right now is this one. And 58 dead is a lot of dead and like 400 plus injured, and nothing came of it. So, because of course that previous guy asshole was in office at that time, so he's not gonna do a fucking thing anyway. He didn't do a fucking thing anyway. Other anniversaries. Urban Hymns, The Verve. One of my, I still, if I did a 1990s playlist or I made a top 190 songs or whatever, number one for me would be Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve. It was on this album, Urban Hymns, that came out this week. I didn't get the anniversary date, but it came out this week, as did Lucky Man, which is another really great song from The Verve. Was also on that album as well. So that came out this week as well. Star Trek The Next Generation is celebrating its 35th anniversary this week. It came out 35 years ago this week. The Rocky Horror Picture Show debuted 47 years ago this week. Zoolander debuted 21 years ago this week. What's interesting about that is Zoolander was supposed to come out earlier in September. And if you count backwards, 21 years ago was 2001. It was the first movie to come out after the terrorist attack on 9/11. And it's a good comedy. Ben Stiller enjoyed it a lot, but the biggest news about it was it is the first movie to come out after the 9/11 stuff happened. REM's album Monster came out in 1994 after the great Automatic for the People and the really good Out of Time and stuff like that. Monster, they wanted to get back into the rock part of their career, and this album only has, to me, really like 4 good songs out of like 12. I'm not the biggest fan of this album, though a lot of people do really like this album. And this was right at the time where they were still one of the hottest bands in the world right now. And this set off their massive tour, which ended up destroying the band eventually. It was one of the worst tours ever in history. We talked about that before. Also in 1994, Ed Wood, Tim Burton's absolutely amazing film about Ed Wood came out this week in 1994. I remember a little bit more about that because I wanted to watch that with my girlfriend at the time in college, because I started dating this girl in September of 1994. So that's sort of my anniversary thing. And I wanted to go see this. We ended up not, I didn't have a car, but she did, but she didn't really want to go see it. So that's fine. We didn't go see that. Instead, we ended up having sex for the first time on Halloween. So that was great. So good. Another reason why I like October. Hotel Transylvania is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. It's one of Adam Sandler's animated films. It's perfect for the Halloween season. Dracula runs a hotel which he caters to his monster friends, mummies and werewolves and Frankensteins and stuff like that. And only monsters are allowed and stuff like that. And he has a daughter, and the daughter falls in love with a human boy. Hilarity ensues. 1993 saw the debut of James's one-hit wonder album, Laid, which has a great couple songs on that as well, but they didn't really come to much after that. 2013 saw the 9 years ago, saw the debut of Chris Hemsworth movie Rush, I think directed by, if I'm not mistaken, Ron Howard. It was about car racing. And it was, after Hemsworth became hugely famous with all his Thor movies and the Avengers. He wanted to try something different, so he did this movie. Did okay, but not great. The Equalizer came out in 2014. That was Denzel Washington's new series of films. He's done 3 of them, I think, so far. Or he's done 2 at least. I know there's a third one in the works right now. So that's good for that. It came out this week as well. Silver Spoons, despite Ricky Schroeder being a complete and utter MAGA fuckface, Silver Spoons was one of my favorite shows 40 years ago, when he was a young kid before he became a MAGA fuckface. And also had the Jason Bateman was in it, and Alfonso Ribeiro was in it as well. Joel Grey was the dad. So it was a good show, and the woman who was in Buck Rogers was in it as well. Forget the actress's name. But yeah, that was a good show. I watched that growing up. 1987 saw the debut of A Different World, which was sort of a spinoff of the Cosby Show that was supposed to star Lisa Bonet going to college, and had Marissa Tomei appear in the first season, but then Kadeem Hardison and Jasmine Guy were also introduced, and they became biggish kind of stars in that time period. They were introduced in the show, and Lisa Bonet got into some trouble and ended up leaving the show after about a season or 2. I think she was in it for at least 2 seasons, but they stuck with it because they wanted to show a different thing. So they also changed. And the second season, they changed to an all-black college, so that Marissa Tomei was kicked out of the show and turned into an all-black. It was a show based at an all-black college, which is something that's kind of never been really done before, and sort of it became hugely popular. Was on after the Cosby Show, so it was a good 1-2 thing there. But yeah, it was supposed to be Lisa Bonet's spinoff show, but I think she got pregnant, and Bill Cosby was a dick about it. Something like that. Urban Legend, the late 90s. This came out in 1998 this week. The late 90s saw a rise in horror with famous, from young actors from TV shows and stuff like that. Urban Legend was sort of came out due to the popularity of Scream earlier, in the December of the last year. And then because Scream was so popular, they just threw out all these different horror films, and Urban Legend was those. Had an interesting premise where people were being killed by a mysterious assailant. Again, in the 80s, it was Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, Leatherface. You knew who the killers were, and it was just watching them get sliced and diced. But when Scream came out, you didn't know who the killer was, and that was part of the fun of watching the movies, to try to figure out who the killer was. So these horror movies that came out in the late 90s, they sort of took that, and roll with it. And Urban Legend was no different. They had a killer. You did not know who the killer was. You had plenty of suspects, but they were killing people based on urban legends. The ones I remember most are the one about the guy in the backseat of the car. Woman drives up to a weird gas station in the middle of the night because she needs gas. And there's a creepy old dude who runs the gas station, and she's scared of the old dude, and he's talking to her and trying to get her attention to get out of the car and come talk to him and stuff like that. And she's freaking out a little bit because she thinks he's going to hurt her, kill her, something like that. He's there to try to warn her that there's somebody in the back seat of her car, and might want, and if she gets back in the car, might get attacked and killed by this person. Now, the girl believes that this guy's a psychopath, this old man, so she doesn't believe and believes it's just a way for him to keep him there so he can do horrible things to her. So she ignores him, goes in the car, and drives off, and then the killer pops out of the back and kills her. That's an urban legend. That's, part of the urban legends that are told, like that. But they did a scene reminiscent of that. And there was the one about the couple that went to Lover's Lane or whatever and were making out, but they heard this weird noise outside, walking around or whatever. And the woman asked the guy to check it out. And then the guy doesn't come back. And she's starting to freak out about what's going on. And she starts hearing the scraping on the top of the car and some dripping noises, and she freaks out. And eventually she's had enough, and she gets out of the car and sees that her boyfriend has been killed and has been strung up in the tree and is bleeding onto the car. And then she gets killed by the killer, sort of thing. So that's sort of another one of these urban legends, things like that. So that was that movie. Premise for that. Paranormal Activity came out this week in 2009. That set off a whole bunch of these found footage sort of movies. Paranormal Activity was a low budget film that became a huge hit, like the Blair Witch Project, for I don't know really for any reason why, because it was mostly like CCTV from a bedroom, and it was just kind of some weird stuff. But it became hugely popular, The Princess Bride celebrates its 35th anniversary this week. Came out 35 years ago this week. And Crocodile Dundee came out 36 years ago this week. So that's another anniversary for that. And finally, the final anniversary thing we have going on is this week in 1977, the Fonzie jumped the shark, which set off a thing about a show that's gone way past its prime now, Jumping the Shark. This was an actual storyline where Fonzie water skied over a shark. So that was kind of they built it up to be this big thing, and it was just him jumping over a shark. Okay, then. So that's your anniversaries for this week. There's Harrison Ford. I already talked about that. Trevor Noah will be leaving The Daily Show after 7 years. No word yet who's going to take over. It will probably not be Jon Stewart again because he has his own show now. So they're going to probably get someone new. So we'll see what happens with that. It'd be kind of interesting to see what a woman would do in the role of the Daily Show. So that'd be kind of neat to see where that goes. Kind of disappointing news, which does not bode well for Sandman getting a second season, but Netflix has canceled the Grendel TV adaptation based on the comic book. Even with the first season almost completely finished filming, they have taken it off the schedule and canceled it. So that doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I'm hoping that maybe Grendel can find another home somewhere, because they almost did a complete first season. I don't know why you don't want to just let the first season go and then cancel it after that. That they might be afraid of is that it's going to be very popular and they're not going to be able to have enough money to do a second season, that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens. Jonathan Majors, who played Kang in the Loki show and is also playing Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, is in talks to play Dennis Rodman in a biopic of the basketball player. So that could be an interesting film to see if he actually does that. In the aftermath of Ian, Walt Disney World has opened up again, which is kind of surprising, but not really kind of surprising because it didn't really go after Orlando, but it did, have heavy rain and did flood some stuff. But Disney World is open and will remain open now. I don't think the entirety of Disney World is open due to the rain, but they did not really say we're going to be closed until further notice, till we get it taken care of. SMOD Cast Cinema, Kevin Smith's theater that he controls, has opened up officially. So he's the one that's going to book people to come in and do shows and stuff like that. And already I hate that he's got that asshole Zack Snyder coming in for a show. So bleh. Talked about the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon Prime. At the same time, the prequel to Game of Thrones is also on streaming right now. And those two shows have been going head to head for the best show streaming, get the most views from stream. And so one week, Game of Thrones is first, Lord of the Rings is second, and then the next week it flip-flops. Lord of the Rings is first, Game of Thrones is second. This past week, Game of Thrones was first and Lord of the Rings was second. And then preliminary views right now look as if Lord of the Rings is back on top again this week. So it's a flip-flopping thing. It's kind of interesting to see that. So cool on that. Now You See Me 3 is in the works with the Zombieland director. So that's another film series that's getting moved along. Vanessa Williams, who was a Miss America who got involved in a Penthouse scandal where she posed naked for Penthouse, which is a lot more graphic than Playboy is. And I think she had her Miss America stripped from her because of those nude photos. They're making a movie about that. So, okay, sure. I talked about they're making a Johnny Depp Amber Heard dramatic reenactment sort of thing of their contentious court case. Well, the first trailer came out, so apparently it's been in the works for a while, and it's coming right on up soon. I don't know where it's going to be or whatever, but hey, it's coming though. I don't know what that says, so I'll move on. A European woman has taken control of the International Space Station for the first time. So a European woman is going to be the one who's the boss up there for now. So that's pretty cool. Scientists uncover possible new meteor crash site that could be dated from 500 million years ago. So that's kind of interesting about that. Yes, it is October, but you're going to start seeing Christmas stuff already, which is a shame because Halloween still has to come, so it's Thanksgiving. But Christmas is Christmas, and Pop-Tarts are not Pop-Tarts, Oreos. I'm sorry, Oreos are going to be releasing their new holiday flavor this holiday season. It's going to be Snickerdoodle flavored Oreos, but they're also going to have like sprinkles in it. So that's the new Oreo coming out soon. Snickerdoodle flavored with sprinkles in it. Dark Wire is a new movie thriller. I don't know where it's going to be on, but it has named Jason Bateman as the director of it. It's an FBI surveillance thriller. He has directed numerous episodes of various TV shows, including the ones that he's worked on, stuff like that. So he's finally going to get his first. I don't think he's done any other ones, but he has been picked as the director for this new FBI surveillance thriller called Dark Wire. Fright Night, which is one of my favorite Halloween films. The creator of it, Tom Holland, is actually writing a series of novels, a trilogy of novels based on the movie. Don't know if it's going to be a prequel. It's going to focus on the vampire. That's the focus of Fright Night, or if it's going to be something else. But it is based in the Fright Night world, and it is written by Tom Holland, and it will be a trilogy. So that's kind of interesting. Creep Show, the horror anthology that had George R. Romero and Stephen King involved, if you're like that, is getting a video game, and I don't know how you're going to do something like that. A horror anthology video game, no idea. But hey, it's been announced, so we'll see what happens. Interview with the Vampire, the AMC series based on the Anne Rice novel, debuts today, actually Sunday night, the 2nd of October, which is what it is now. It's 12:42 a.m., so it is officially October 2nd. Though I start on October 1st, so that's still good. It has been renewed in advance of the premiere of the show for a second season, and I just wish, that they would have done that for Sandman, but oh well. But good for them. They get a second season, so good on that. A trailer popped up for an Apple TV movie that I did not even know about, starring two of my favorite actors, Ewan McGregor and Ethan Hawke. It's called Raymond and Ray. They play estranged brothers who discover that their father, who was not really there for them, has died and has requested them to come to the place where he was living at the time when he died. And he's got some weird things he wants done, including he wants the boys to dig his grave for him. And they bought a cheap, coffin for his body, stuff like that. But during all this, the strange brothers slowly, begin to reconnect, and then they discover that their father was having an affair with a stripper or a prostitute or something like that, and they have a son together, who is their half brother. So you got to deal with that as well. So that's good. Doritos is releasing a ketchup flavored Dorito and a spicy mustard flavored Dorito. I did not know that was coming, but they are apparently out in the world now, because I follow something on Facebook that is, found out in the world stuff that's, out that they've tried before. Another one of those was Hershey is releasing cream cheese chips, meaning not chips, but chocolate chips, but they're cream cheese flavored, so you can make cookies that have cream cheese flavored chips in them, that sort of thing. So that's kind of good, and that's not on this page. I thought it was. Oh well. Yeah. Hasbro is going to release Raiders of the Lost Ark action figures. If they do well, they will do all the movies for Raiders of the Lost Ark, so or for Indiana Jones. I really don't know what that says. I wish I did. Henry Cavill and Dua Lipa are going to be starring in an Apple TV film called Argylle. So the first view of that came out this week. Third Channel is a new film coming out soon that is an unofficial sequel to Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which had nothing to do with the Michael Myers stuff. Michael Myers stuff, but has a cult following now. There's doing sort of like an unofficial sequel to it. Nerds drink mixes. I use drink mixes for my water when I go to work, and they have Skittles flavored now. They have Orange Crush ones. They've got Starburst ones, stuff like that, and now they have nerd flavored ones. So that's interesting. Might have to look that up and try that out. In some local news, Patagonia, they were in the news a while back, where the owner of the company sold his company to a nonprofit organization that's helping for climate change. And my friend Gary is a huge Patagonia fan, and has told me a lot about it. And I'm interested to see it. It's got some good outdoor wear and stuff like that. They finally opened a shop here in Maryland, actually down in Baltimore, down by Harbor East near Harbor Place. So I have to go down there and check that out sometime. Yellowstone creator Taylor Sheridan is busy as a bee. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He is going to be filming a 6-episode miniseries about a black frontier lawman named Bass Reeves, starring David Oyelowo, which is a really good casting, and it's good to see some different aspects of history being brought out there as well. One last thing, if I can figure this out. No, I don't know that. So I'm just going to ignore this. Something about behind the scenes things. I'm just going to ignore that. Deaths this week. The big death this week was Coolio, the rapper who did Gangster's Paradise. Some other stuff as well. He passed away this week. Former Dallas Cowboys tight end Gavin Escobar died in a rock climbing accident at the age of 31 this week. Oh, I know what this is now. I'll get back to the deaths in a second. A documentary about the behind the scenes issues on the kids show Barney is getting is coming soon, and got a trailer is out about it. So that's what it was. So that's kind of interesting. All right, so that page is done. Other deaths we have this week include Lost in Space. The Netflix version of Lost in Space is showrunner Zach Essen died at the age of 51. And Robert Cormer, actor, died at the age of 33, was Netflix's slasher, Solstice, and Heartland. He was in a bunch of actors for that. He might have been the only one. Yes, I have other ones up here. So that's all deaths this week. So yeah, we got those. So Bruce Willis is now the first actor to sell his deep fake rights, which means that he is allowing movies to use his face in their movies if they need a Bruce Willis type of character, or they want Bruce Willis in the movie or whatever, but he can't anymore because of his illness. He's retired from acting, but he says that he can still be in the movie with this deep fake stuff. There's the deep fake stuff is really, really good. I've seen some usage of it before, so it's kind of scary how good it is also, but but he is the first actor to embrace that and stuff like that. I think I talked about this before, but I guess they just brought up again that there's a Ferris Bueller spinoff series that's going to be produced by the Cobra Kai creators. I guess there was another story about it. I didn't read it because I was just like, okay, I'll just talk about this a little bit. So, okay. Netflix is also, for the first time ever, is doing what I'm yelling at HBO Max for doing. So I guess I have to yell at Netflix about this. So Netflix didn't really get into the original series and original movie stuff till like the 2012, 2013 era. And one of their first ever they did was a horror show called Hemlock Grove. I remember it briefly, but not much about it before I got Netflix. But it was a huge deal, and it a couple seasons and did well, but it was Netflix's first original series. They're going to be removing it from Netflix, which I find really odd that they're removing original series from their site, their streaming site. Now, obviously, maybe they're privy to more records, and maybe no one has streamed it in a while and it's taking up space or whatever. They want to put something else in that spot. But it just seems odd that, you kind of want to keep your original stuff. I mean, you paid for it, and if you want to get people to rewatch it again, you should promote it more. But no, I'm not the boss of that, so I don't know nothing about that. George Takei has been cast in the live-action Avatar, The Last Airbender storyline. I don't know the character he's playing, but he has been cast in that as well. Carlos Pacheco, a really good comic book artist, worked with Kurt Busiek on Aerosmith and also a great Avengers Forever, is diagnosed with ALS. That's been now, so hopefully he'll be able to recover from that. AMC is going to be doing a series reboot of a 1960s sci-fi horror show called Seconds, so they're going to be doing a reboot series for that. Black Panther 2 is going to run a massive 2 hours and 41 minutes. So that's the longest movie in phase 4 right now. And I guess a good ending to phase 4, but damn, I'm taking off November 11th to watch it. So if it's like an 11 o'clock show, it won't be over till 2 o'clock. So that's just insane. This pisses me off a little bit. Chris Pine's Star Trek 4, which had got some new life earlier this year, has now been taken off of Paramount's release calendar, which means it is effectively dead in the water, which pisses me off because that's another series that needs to get back into circulation and get moving again. Kevin Bacon, he of the 6 Degrees Kevin Bacon, which was created at my college by guys that I know that I still to this day say that the idea seeped out of my brain because they lived underneath me when they created it and it went into their brain and they got it. Just kidding, Brian. Brian knows who I am. Kevin Bacon has now joined the cast of Beverly Hills Cop 4, Axel Foley. So now that adds a whole new level now to the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, which now has Eddie Murphy now be only one away from him. Same with John Ashton, Judge Ryan Holt, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, so on and so forth. So Bronson Pinchot are now all 1 degree from Kevin Bacon here. Borat 2 actress who was nominated for an acting award, Maria Bakalova, is going to star in a movie called Elektra. I think it's going to be based on, not the comic, but on the Greek myth that it was based on, that Elektra sort of based on. A Jupiter-sized planet orbits its star in 1 day. So that means that their year is 1 day. And it is also extraordinarily close to its star. So it is getting entirely bombarded with the heat from the star. But still, how would you like to have a year happen in a day? That's crazy, man. If we did that, I would be... God, I can't even imagine. Let's just say I'm 49 years old. I'm not even going to worry about. Breaking news: more than 120 people dead following stampede at a soccer match in Indonesia. Ugh, that's awful. There've been all kinds of stuff happening at like soccer and football matches, stuff like that. So, oof. But that's a lot. I'd be old then. But I mean, you wouldn't age like, we age here. I mean, it would just be like another day. So, hey, another year passed. It'd be, instead of calling it a day, it's like a year's passed. Happy Tues year, or Wens year, or Fry year, or Sadder year, or Sun year, Disney's Figment is going to be getting a feature film from Seth Rogen and the writers of Detective Pikachu. Now, I've never heard of Figment before, but he's some sort of dragon sort of creature. So I don't know if it's going to be live action or it's going to be animated or what, but Seth Rogen's involved and the Detective Pikachu writers are involved. So we'll see. The NFL Pro Bowl, which is their version of the All-Star game, which is always getting derided about how bad it is, has finally been removed and now been replaced with Pro Bowl games where people who were voted to the Pro Bowl will be doing more of a skills challenge based thing instead of an actual like football game, because the football game is a joke. Football is such a physical game that you don't want to injure your star players in a scrimmage, and there have been cases where that's happened. So they're going to just turn into like sort of a Pro Bowl competition. So honestly, just get rid of the Pro Bowl. You don't really need to have an all-star game for everything. I mean, the NBA all-star games are kind of dumb anyway, and they need a break. But if you want to give them as an incentive, you can always say if you make the Pro Bowl or vote in the Pro Bowl, you get $1 million. I don't know. Whatever. Apple TV is all over the place again. This is something that I might have talked about, but I don't remember. But this came out of nowhere. But Taika Waititi was supposedly producing a Time Bandits TV show for Apple TV. And Time Bandits is one of my favorite movies. It's like, really? And then I saw this, and it's like, it's the first news about that I can recall. And he's cast Lisa Kudrow as the lead, Phoebe from Friends. And that's wild. And I kind of want to see that because I like Time Bandits, but I don't want to get Apple TV. So, but still, that's absolutely wild. Sam Raimi is going to be directing a remake of a movie called Magic that starred Anthony Hopkins and was the original Evil Doll movie. So Raimi's going to be directing a new one of that. Last week, I told you that John Carpenter was dropping hints about like a Godzilla kind of project he's working on. I was like, oh, that'd be so cool to see a Godzilla movie directed by John Carpenter. Well, that's not going to happen, actually. What he's doing is for the month of November on the Scare Factory TV, which is, I don't know anything about, that must be a cable TV show. He will be hosting Godzilla marathons every week and discussing it. So, okay. Freya Allen joins the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is Disney's remake of the Planet of the Apes. I don't know how that's going to react to the previous trilogy that set up Planet of the Apes. If it's a continuation, don't know what's going on, but Freya Allen has joined the cast there. A D&D player has sent a 20-sided die up to outer space, and he asked that one of the astronauts roll it in space, see what happens. And of course, the obvious happens. It hit a nat 20. So that's kind of interesting. Mountain Dew has released another mystery flavor, but you can only get this if you enter a contest. And I think it's already done over with. The Baja Deep Dive. And the Baja series of Mountain Dew stuff is more tropical flavored, summer sort of stuff. I had the mango Baja thing last week, which was okay, but not great. But there's a tropical fruit version of it and some other ones as well. But this is a Baja Deep Dive, and the person who drank it could not describe what it tastes like. Said it had sort of like a cucumber aftertaste, which is weird, but it is also a mystery flavor. It was a green flavored Mountain Dew, but it also had like the same writing as the Mountain Dew Blackout, which was sort of a grape flavored Mountain Dew. So they don't know if it's a combination of that or whatever. But yeah, so there's another Mountain Dew that you can add that you're never going to get. So there you go. Tombstone Pizza, which I know very well when I was in college, my senior year. If I ever, I don't know if it was junior, but I think maybe junior, but I think only senior they did this. If I was working late and I got hungry and I didn't feel like go out or I didn't have any food, I would order from our place called The Sub, which was our late night sort of diner place. And they would deliver a Tombstone pizza to me for a certain amount of cost. It was delicious. But Tombstone Pizza is offering people who live on Elm Streets all across the country, Nightmare on Elm Street sort of stuff, for this Halloween season, a chance to win free pizza if they enter a competition or whatever. So don't know what it's about, but it's got to be something about Halloween or whatever because of Elm Street and because of that. So Aaron Judge is this story really doesn't make a lot of sense to me, so I'm just going to say it anyway. But Aaron Judge is a New York Yankee. From I heard, he's a good guy. He's not does not abuse steroids or performance enhancing drugs or anything like that. But he is presently at 61 home runs, so he's tied the Yankee record with Roger Maris for most home runs in a season. And the thing is, the Major League Baseball record for most home runs in a season is actually 73, held by Barry Bonds. Now, there have been multiple. There's like a McGuire hit 64 one year, I think. Sammy Sosa had 63 and 65, and Bonds had 70 at one point, I think. So, but all the people who broke Maris's record earlier were all indicted on performance-enhancing drugs. So there's supposed to be asterisks next to that, but there isn't, because technically the drugs that the performance enhancers that Barry Bonds was busted on, were not illegal at the time where he was going for the record. So the record is technically 73 home runs. But the New York media and the sports media is making this big deal about Aaron Judge hitting 61 home runs and breaking Roger Maris's record as if it's like he's going to, break the record for Major League Baseball, which he's not. So I find it kind of odd, the excitement about it. Yes, it's the Yankees, who are an awful, awful team anyway, but they're hugely popular. I get that. But then my stepmother mentioned something today, is that it's an American League record for home runs in a season. And I guess that's true because Bonds hit them in the National League, but I thought McGuire hit his in the American League with the A's. Maybe he did. Maybe he was whatever part of that team, whatever. So I don't know. So, but they're making a deal, but there's so much of a big deal about it that ESPN has actually been cutting into college football games to show Aaron Judge's at bats, just in case he hits the home run and they can watch it live. Now, the Orioles are playing the Yankees this weekend, so it's been a big story because he's been stuck at 61 for about 3 days now, and he still is. The 2 games against the Orioles, he has not hit a home run. Now, we've walked him a couple times, but he's also struck out. And supposedly he missed an opportune time where it was a beautiful pitch that he could have launched, but he missed it or whatever and didn't see it, and was called a strike on him. Anyway, to get to the point, though, so when he hit his 61st home run, which tied Roger Maris's record, it was in Toronto, I think, or is it Toronto, New York? But anyway, the guy who caught it popped out of his hand into the Blue Jays bullpen, and the Blue Jays bullpen coach picked it up and pocketed it and then gave it to Aaron Judge just for free. Here you go. Here's your 61st home run, Congratulations. Now, most people would say that's kind of dumb because you can get, if you put it up for auction, you could probably get $1 million plus for it. You can get a lot of stuff. If you want, if the Yankees can work with you, they'll get you like signed bats and balls and uniforms and like season tickets and stuff like that. But this guy just thought it'd be, the best, and there can be a case for that he just give it to him and say, hey, congratulations, there you go. However, the wife of the bullpen's, the Blue Jays bullpen coach, is a Fox Sports reporter, and she is threatening to divorce her husband because he just gave it to him, to Aaron Judge, instead of selling it where they could have made millions of dollars on it. So not surprising that she works for Fox, because Fox is a shitty network anyway, filled with MAGA fuck faces, and that just tracks with Fox people. So we'll see what happens with that. Minecraft ice cream from Nix.com is not available in stores, but if you want Minecraft ice cream, there's a bunch of flavors. One is enchanted apple pie, emerald mint, cake blocker, and peanut chocolate glow dust. So it's all Minecraft based ice creams that you can only get online. So go to Nick.com and that's all he gave me, and see if you can find some of this Minecraft ice cream. The Last of Us based on the TV, on the computer. I'm sorry. There is a TV HBO Max series based on the computer game Last of Us, stars Pedro Pascal. New trailer was revealed this week showing it, how really good it is, stuff like that. So that's interesting. Some local news. Bob Turk, who has been the local weatherman forever, is finally moving on from WJZ after working there for 5 decades, 50 plus years. He's not retiring, but he's just moving on. Justin Herbert, the QB sensation from San Diego, who honestly, not San Diego, from Los Angeles Chargers, who looks good, but I don't see the people calling him one of the best. He's just calling him one of the best quarterbacks. He's always in the top 5, top 10 best quarterbacks in the NFL. I just don't see it. I don't see the Chargers that much, but his rookie card was sold for $1 million, and only 2 other quarterbacks have had their rookie card sold for that much: Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. So that's kind of interesting. Rihanna will be this is officially announced, will be the halftime Super Bowl performer at halftime. Rihanna will be doing that. The trailer for the live action Monster High movie came out this week as well. Monster High was something that my daughter absolutely loved when she was growing up, and they're now doing a live action version. Now she's too old to watch it. John Williams, the composer who composed many hugely famous movies and themes and iconic themes, stuff like that, and probably the greatest American composer of our time right now, did get knighted before Queen Elizabeth passed away. So he is now Sir John Williams. So good on that. Oprah Winfrey and Apple TV have cut ties with each other. They had a deal going on, and the deal is no longer valid. So Oprah is moving on. More local news, kind of. The Spirit Halloween movie is not having a regular release system. They're only releasing it in certain towns. I don't know why, but they are. And the list of towns was released this week. And in Maryland, there's only 2 spots where you can see the movie: in Abingdon and in Salisbury, which are 2 minor towns that are so far removed from central Maryland that it doesn't make any sense. So if you want to see the Spirit Halloween movie in Maryland, you're going to have to go to either Abingdon or Salisbury. And it's the same sort of, I was watching some of the names of some of the towns where this movie's released. It's not being released in like any of the big towns. It's not being released in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles or whatever. It's going to be in like these small little, like Reseda or, Visalia or stuff like that. None of the big cities either, just these like weird, like New Freedom, Pennsylvania and stuff like that. They're releasing these things. So Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher are going to be starring in a Netflix romantic comedy called Your Place or Mine, which is due out February 10th. The first trailer for it came out this week, so that could be interesting. MIT has created a living plant that lights up. They say it could replace light poles with trees and light up the night that way. Stephen F. Austin, a low-level college football team or college school, their football team defeated another lower-level college team 98-0 last week. That's kind of interesting. Tim Burton has said that Uncle Fester will be on the Wednesday show, but he is not revealing who will be playing said Uncle Fester. So speculation is abounding that it's going to be Johnny Depp, or they're bringing Christopher Lloyd back, or it's going to be someone huge in the role. So we'll see what happens. My personal thought is that, what's her name? I just lost it. Christina Ricci, who was the original Wednesday Addams, has a unspecified role in the new Wednesday show. And I'm just wondering if maybe they're going to do a little switch up and make Uncle Fester be Aunt Fester, and they're going to have Christina Ricci be Aunt Fester. So I don't think that's going to happen, but that would be kind of cool if they did. My wife is still up, which sucks because I wanted to have a little quiet time upstairs, but oh well, whatever. Lorne Michaels has had to revamp his Saturday Night Live crew and cast again. Their first episode, I think, is going on right now. It might have just ended. Yeah, it ended at 1:00, but I believe their first episode of the new season was this week with the new cast. Lorne Michaels wants to push on for about 2 more years because this was the 48th year of Saturday Night Live. So he wants to push on to the 50th year. And if they get to the 50th year, his plan is to make it a huge season, the biggest season they've ever had. I mean, 50 years is a long time being on television, obviously. And Saturday Night Live has created so many huge stars and stuff like that, his goal is to have everyone who is on Saturday Night Live come back during the season, or I don't know if he's going to make them be have a group do, will be kind of you can have the regular, you can have the regular group of Saturday Night Live people, but you could throw in a couple of the big people, like you have, this crew, and then joining the cast this week is going to be Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, and John Lovitz. And then you're going to still have your regular musical guest and your regular guest host. And then the next week you'll have the regular cast, and then it'll be like Mike Myers and Bill Murray and Will Ferrell, that sort of thing, come in to join the cast. Maybe that would be kind of the idea. Or they're just going to do just a huge sort of big party, have everybody who's been on the show before come on in some form or another. So, and then after that, there's speculation that once he does that, he might finally end Saturday Night Live and say, okay, we're done, moving on. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. But we still got 2 years to go for that. So they'll have to get through these next 2 years, and we'll see how things go for that. Grogu, Baby Yoda, gets his own Star Wars Tamagotchi now. I might have to find that for my daughter and get it to her for Christmas. I'll look at that in a little bit. I've got one more story to tell, and then I got to go up there and hang out. My wife, I just want to be by myself. I don't want her to be asleep, but oh well. And finally, the last story of today, this show, is an Australian guy has used a baby shark as a bong. So obviously it's a dead baby shark, and he's turned the dead baby shark into a bong and smokes the weed, the zombie as they call it in Australia, out of the baby shark. So weird. Anyway, that's it for this week's show. Next week, as I said, I'll be home alone again. We'll have Werewolf by Night. I think I'm going to just watch that even without my family. Werewolf by Night review, and any other stuff that I decide to do here. But that's the only one I can think of right now for this week. So enjoy yourself. Have a good week. Stay dry. It's going to be a rainy day here on the East Coast. And have a good week. Enjoy the October weather. Get out there, get your Halloween stuff up. Go do, what do you call those? Hay rides, haunted hay rides, horror stuff. Enjoy yourself, have fun, and get out there. It's October, and it's the best month of the year.